Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the United States. My name is Ben, aka the Fusebox, and I proclaim that I have now taken upon my shoulders leadership of this fair nation. I am now your mighty king and sovereign. Let it be known throughout the lands that once again a monarchy shall unite the people of this country and bring us to days of glory like which we have never seen before. I am here with a returning guest and a favored co-host. You know her as the Libertarian Goth, but now you shall know her as the alternative sovereign, Queen of the Western United States.
Hello.
So, how does it feel to have attained power?
Oh, it feels wild, especially being so powerful as a libertarian.
Look, it just means that you will be a fair and just monarch.
Yeah, and then I'll just leave everybody alone. I have the power to leave everybody alone.
Well, really, yeah. Well, we can't do that because, you see, the plebs have been protesting today, calling for no kings. But now is the time when we need kings.
Yeah, and it's so funny that if the supposed king they're protesting was really such an authoritarian king and dictator like they say he is, they wouldn't be able to do all this protesting and demonstration at all.
Well, I mean, the British allow it, and the British have technically a king.
Yeah, but their king is basically neutered. You know, he just kind of heads parliament a bit, but doesn't really have anything more than a ceremonial role.
Well,
For the most part.
well, that's why the UK is falling apart.
Yeah. Well, a lot more reasons than that, but that honestly, if they gave the power back to the king, then it might be a little bit better. That's just because that's how bad things are there. They probably need to straighten out before they, yeah. But I'm not saying like I advocate for monarchy, but since they have a monarchy, maybe they're, I don't know. King Charles is not the brightest, I don't think.
Look, you have to advocate for monarchy. You're the queen of the Western United States.
I will be queen of my household in the Western United States.
Look, maybe this will help change your mind.
I do love this queen.
Now come the days of the king.
Could not have asked a better person for Aragorn.
There you go.
That king. I'm that king, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, is like, yeah, definitely. And Viggo Morgenstern, whatever, perfect Aragorn. That was like nailed casting.
Well, the point is, Gondor was in a state where it was they had a head of state who was weak, who was basically letting Sauron's forces tread on through. Like, no border security for Gondor. And the next thing you know, they brought in a king, and the king ushered in a new golden age.
Yeah, with his wife that's from a faraway land. Sound familiar?
Jason, listen, under our new reign, this kind of talk will not be allowed. I'm just saying.
Royalty by birth. Yeah, there's actually a lot of people that try to trace their lineage back to royalty. If you ever been on Ancestry.com or anything like that, like there's always people that are trying to connect it. Like if their last name is King or Prince, they're like, oh, it was a king or a prince. No, that's just their last name.
Well, technically, no. I'm not really related to any royals, but I am related to prominent Democrat politicians from back in the day.
Oh, like the back in the day ones. Wow, yeah. Well, I'm kin down with some Confederate cavalry and some like Union officers. So like I had family on both sides of the Civil War on my father's side.
So you bridged the gap.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
You brought two sides together like a true ruling king.
It's weird. Like it was my grandparents actually, like my father's parents, because all the Confederates were on my grandmother's side and all the Union were on my grandfather's side. So they actually came together and united.
There you
I'm
go.
just like what came out of it down the line.
Well, I think monarchy would be the best solution for the United States. And
George Washington was offered it.
And he should have taken it. We wouldn't be in this mess.
He didn't have any kids though. He wouldn't have had any heirs.
Due to Aragorn, son of Arathorn, who is called Elessar, the Elfstone, of the Dunedain, and heir of Isildur Elendil, son of Gondor. And here is the sword that was broken and is forged again. The last chief of the Dunedain of the North.
I remember the scene in the movie. I think it was probably the extended edition, where Eowyn is like saying like you're one of the Dunedain, and he's like,
yeah,
I thought you all like we're all gone or something.
Well, the Dunedain are essentially the descendants of Numenor, which was the great island nation that had very long-lived humans because they were basically the first king of Numenor was an elf who became a man. Long story. And so as a result, all of his descendants were blessed with extra long life. But then what happened was as the years went by, they eventually started to resent the fact that they were mortal, and Sauron became an advisor to one of the kings, and he convinced them to invade Valinor, the Undying Lands, to try to take immortality by force. And obviously, when you try to challenge God, it didn't go very well, and so God reshaped the world and sunk Numenor to the bottom of the sea. But the few that remained loyal and faithful were allowed to survive, and they made their way to Middle-earth and established two kingdoms, Gondor and Arnor. Arnor fell to the Witch King's invasions sometime, I think, in the early part of the Third Age. And then so the last remnants of the kingdom of Arnor became rangers called the Dunedain. And so technically Aragorn was the heir of of Arnor. But due to the fact that he's descended from Elendil was High King of Gondor and Arnor. So he had a claim to the throne of Gondor as well.
See, I did not know that. Is this in the Lord of the Rings, or is this in the I forgot the name of that.
Well, the stuff about Numenor is from the Silmarillion.
Silmarillion, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And I think most of the other stuff I took from the Lost Tales, I believe, of Middle-earth.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh.
Gypsies and cowboys. And Irish.
That's pretty cool.
Well, shit, yeah.
I didn't know gypsies came over here that early.
So, you know,
It's kind of cool though.
I just wanted you
Gypsies in
to
the
know
Wild
that
West.
I am a huge nerd for Tolkien, so.
No, it's cool. Like I don't know as much as like other people who are really into it, but I really have like a lot of interest in Tolkien. Like I'm sitting here, like you're telling me, and I'm like fascinated by it because I love Tolkien. I do.
So yeah, the Dunedain, you know, they represent the fallen kingdom of Arnor, and the idea is they're protecting the ancestral lands that used to be the kingdom of Arnor, which included the Shire.
Huh.
And yeah, basically Aragorn II, was the 16th chieftain of the Dunedain. And essentially he had a legitimate claim to the throne of Gondor due to being descended of the kings of Arnor. Because the last king of Gondor, he went to challenge the Witch King in Minas Morgul. He went off and basically never came back, and he didn't have any heirs. And so that's when the line of stewards pretty much took over. And so technically, yeah, like basically Aragorn has a legitimate claim to both thrones. And in the book, they mention how when he becomes king, he reestablishes the kingdom of Arnor in the north.
Oh, so then he has like 2 kingdoms then?
Yes.
It's like having a summer vacation home and then you're like your main house.
Well, that's the beauty of why he kept on Faramir to become the next steward, so that basically when he had to go off and, you know, make diplomatic missions, or he had to visit Arnor and such, Faramir took control of Gondor during those times.
Yeah, I liked Faramir. I think he was underrated.
Oh yeah, especially like in the books, he's much. I would say he's much wiser in the books and much more noble.
Well, there's only so much they could have done on the screen though, because you know, like I heard that when they shot as much as they could, it was way too long and way too much. Like even the extended editions of the movies aren't really as much as they could have made it. So they can only squeeze so much of Faramir into what they had.
Well, the thing is they added extra for Faramir in the Two Towers. They added a bit where he didn't trust Frodo and he took him prisoner to Osgiliath and all that. That didn't happen in the book. In the book, when he met Frodo and Sam, he was their best friend basically. He was like, "Hey, I know what you have on you, and I don't want to touch that thing, so I'm gonna help you."
Oh, so it's the opposite.
Yeah. And
I guess they just probably needed drama for the movie then, because you know I did read like half of The Hobbit, and you know there's like a scene in The Hobbit or in the book of The Hobbit that I really liked that was not in the movie at all, and it's because they needed the drama. Because I don't know, I'm sure you said you're a nerd for Tolkien, so you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, so you know in the book where Gandalf is talking to, like, I forgot his name, the bear guy. And then he's trying to introduce, and he's trying to introduce the dwarves to him. Like, basically, like, I got these guys with me, and then they kind of come in, like, almost like one at a time, and it's just kind of a silly scene.
Well, that part actually did happen in the book. It was just that.
No, I'm talking about in the book. I'm talking about in the book. Yeah. So in the book that happened, but in the movie they had him like ferociously chasing all of them into his barn or whatever.
Yep.
Because they needed the drama for the movie. So I was kind of like, oh, I really wanted that silly scene where he's introducing them, like in the book, but they didn't do it. They needed the drama.
Oh, there was a lot in the Hobbit movies that I hated. Like all the parts that came right out of the book, I liked. Everything else, I was really disgusted by. Like, I really hated the barrel scene in the second one. Because in the book, the whole point of the barrels was like they sneak out in the barrels and float safely down the river, and the whole point was to show that Bilbo's clever. and that he was an asset to the team. But in the movie, it's like, okay, they're going out in the barrels, but then there's a bunch of orcs that show up and try to kill him. And then Legolas jumps on and he's doing acrobatics and shooting arrows at everybody and blah, blah. It's like, stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
they needed the drama. Yeah, that was kind of silly. Yeah, the orcs just kind of came out of nowhere. It's like they're floating down the river, like they're, and then it comes some orcs, and it's just like, who wrote that scene? How did they propose that in like the little room where they're doing like the little boards and stuff? Like, and then some orcs come out around the corner. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, like that whole subplot they did of like Azog chasing down Thorin, all of that was made up for the movie.
Yeah.
Because
it would be a shame.
Yeah, like the Battle of the Five Armies in the book is there's an army of goblins that want revenge for the death of the Goblin King. And then there's an army of wargs. It was nothing like it was in the movies.
Yeah, yeah. They really got to like change it and hype it up in the movies. Keep people interested.
And Radagast the Brown was not in it. Radagast the Brown shows up in one scene in Lord of the Rings. That's the total of his contribution to the stories.
Yeah, and then he wasn't even in the Lord of the Rings movies, but they put him in the Hobbit.
Yep. And he just shows up in one scene to see Gandalf and goes, "Hey, Saruman wants to see you. Okay, bye."
Yeah, they made him very silly too.
Yes. Which was ridiculous. All of it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go on and on about how Hollywood just takes books and then they just kind of like pick and choose what they want to keep, and then they just like make up their own stuff. And sometimes it gets almost bad to the point where it's almost like it's fan fiction.
Yeah.
They rewrite so much.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like, the things that they added to it, it wasn't like that horrible of a departure. Because I understood the reasons why they did it. Like, they did the thing with Faramir so that like they wouldn't castrate the thread of the ring, and then they replaced Glorfindel with Arwen because they wanted more women. Which, whatever.
Yeah.
Because Arwen's barely in the book.
Is she really? Because they really kind of made her really major. Like I told you, I only read like half the Hobbit. I haven't read Lord of the Rings. But they really made her like a huge major character.
Yeah, she's in like 2 scenes in the books.
Wow.
And it's that
you would think being Aragorn's main squeeze should be more.
Well, it's that it's a scene where Frodo in Rivendell peeks in and he sees Aragorn talking to her, and he's just noticing, oh, he looks all warm and happy for once. I'm not used to seeing him like that. And then it's at the end of the Return of the King, when she's queen, that they talk to her.
Really?
And then her story gets fleshed out a little bit more in the appendices. When, because in the appendices, that's where Tolkien added all the stories that don't really connect to the main plot that much.
Oh.
So yeah, they took a bit from the appendices and they gave her a little bit more in it, where like I think in the Fellowship, when Frodo gets stabbed by the Witch King, he's supposed to get saved by Glorfindel, who's this first age elven warrior who was so freaking awesome. But instead they replaced him with Arwen to give her something to do.
So the DEI stuff started a lot earlier than we thought, I guess.
Yeah.
That, or the fact that they cast Liv Tyler and they really wanted to use her, because I've seen movies where that were books where they get kind of a bigger name actor or actress and they give them more parts.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. I mean,
Happened with
again,
Hunger Games too.
but again, it wasn't like they didn't beat you over the head with it in the Lord of the Rings movies. It was
That's true. They made it work.
It wasn't as like in the Hobbit movies, they made up that whole character of Tauriel.
Really?
Oh yeah,
She's not far in the Hobbit to.
Yeah, no. Well, Legolas wasn't in the Hobbit, but it makes sense to include him a little bit, considering he's the son of the king of shit. What's it called again? The kingdom there. Well, King Thranduil.
Yeah, Thranduil. That writes the
of Mirkwood.
Is it? Mirkwood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, because like I think when The Hobbit was written, he hadn't conceptualized the character of Legolas yet, and he decided, it's kind of a nice continuation from the Hobbit story of having the son of Thranduil and the son of one of the dwarves of the company become friends.
Yeah.
So that was.
I should go back and read it again, and actually finish reading it. Well, see, what happened was I was like reading it. I had this job where I was able to read on the job because it was like a call center job, and I was like reading The Hobbit, and then it's a good reason why I stopped reading it. I got promoted, but when I got promoted, I got a job where I couldn't sit and read anymore.
Oh shit!
So that's why I didn't finish reading it. Is because I got a promotion at the job that I was at the time, and never picked it back up, unfortunately.
The funny thing is I had to read Lord of the Rings for 8th grade summer reading, and back then I hated it because I was young and stupid, and whenever they mentioned elves, I kept imagining like little Santa Keebler elves.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, this is the dumbest, gayest shit. And as I got older, and after watching the movies and all, it's like, okay, I have a better sense of it now. And so I read it when I was a young adult again, and I loved it. And it's funny, like you mentioned, you had to stop reading it when you got promoted. I read it while I was working at a grocery store.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was reading it when I was working at a call center. Then I got promoted. I didn't get demoted. I got promoted, but I guess I was making more money, so it was all right.
They were totally queering it up.
Well, Liv Tyler's pretty.
No, I agree. No, I liked her as the casting for it. I just it would have been cool to see Glorfindel just because he was such a badass in the books.
Yeah, they didn't really focus much on any other male elves besides Legolas. Oh, and of course Arwen's dad,
Elrond.
I'm not good with names. Elrond and Thranduil was the only ones, but they're like kings, so duh. But Legolas is the only one. Well, he's a prince too. I don't know.
And a lot of people who haven't read the full lore don't know Elrond is half human.
Oh, so that means Arwen's like a quarter human?
Kind of. Basically, Elrond is descended from Beren and Luthien, who were the first man and elf woman to fall in love. And also, Luthien is also descended from an elf and a Maiar. A Maiar is basically like an angel. So you've got like 3 different bloodlines going there combined. And then and Aragorn is technically descended from Elrond's brother.
Ew.
Because Elrond and his brother and his parents were, when the Valar found out about the mixing of elves and men, they were kind of hit with a dilemma because they're like, elves and men go to different places when they die. So they're like, what do we do? And like, okay, we're going to give you all a choice of what you want to be. And so Elrond and his parents all wanted to be elves, and then his brother Elros decided to become a man. But of course, being of elven descent and everything, he's a man with extra long life. And he ended up becoming the first king of Numenor. And so Aragorn is a descendant of his, but it's been multiple generations. So there's been enough mixing in the bloodline to make it not, he and Arwen aren't like first cousins or anything like that. But
yeah, that's what it sounded like whenever you said that at first. I was like, ew, like I didn't know Lord of the Rings went that way.
But he is descended from that bloodline. It's just that, elves live way longer than humans.
Yeah.
Because, by the time they got married, Aragorn was about 87-ish. And Arwen was 2,700 and something years old.
Oh, goodness. She's robbing the cradle.
Exactly. She was the first MILF.
That's like a G times 500 MILF. G MILF.
Reno? I feel like the joke is
Nevada?
way over my head. That joke went right over my head.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. Like Nevada.
I'm sorry, Dragon. I failed you.
Mhm.
I apologize. But yeah. Oh God, what other Lord of the Rings lore should I spit out?
Just kind of curious about Smeagol. Like, he's how old did he get? Because the ring made him so old.
I believe he was about 500 years old.
Yeah. And hobbits normally don't live that long. They seem like they probably live about as long as like a human would, right?
A little bit longer. Like
a little bit longer.
Because I think it wasn't Bilbo wasn't uncommonly old. It was that because of the ring, he was looking uncommonly young for his age.
Ah.
Because normally, I think hobbits technically reach adulthood when they're 50.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, Frodo was 50 years old when his journey began.
Yeah, I know he was actually in his 50s. I at least know that much. But obviously he looks really young for 50 because Elijah Wood was not very old when that was made.
No.
But that's just wild. Imagine having your teenage years being that long. That's wild.
Yeah. I think that's part of the attraction a lot of people have to this lore is the fact it's people living extra long, getting to do more shit.
Yeah. But then there's also all these wars and battles and stuff, and yeah, people dying terribly, like all the stuff that you see, and talk about the movies, of course, where they actually play out the battles. I don't know. With the risks of that, and then there's orcs tailing you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, cool long life, but orcs, no.
And the elves, it's kind of weird, but the elves technically, after they die, they're eventually reincarnated.
Oh.
And the cool part about Glorfindel, the guy who was cut out of the movie, was that in the first age of Middle Earth, when the kingdom of Gondolin was being destroyed by Morgoth's forces, he fought the king of the Balrogs, and they basically killed each other. And he was reincarnated extra early, and his power was increased.
Oh.
So he was almost like a demigod version of an elf.
So, like, isn't that what happened to Gandalf? Is kind of reincarnated as Gandalf the White?
Yeah, pretty much. The wizards. The wizards were Maiar spirits that were chosen to be incarnated as wizards to guide the free peoples of Middle-earth against Sauron, because the Valar were forbidden from interfering again, because the Valar had defeated Morgoth in a big, huge battle that shook the foundations of the world. And so it's like, okay, we can't do that again, because, there could be catastrophic consequences. So this time around, it's got to be elves and men that handle it themselves. But we're going to send little spiritual guides for them.
Yeah. I like Gandalf. And I think Gandalf actually partially inspired Dumbledore, too, if I'm not mistaken.
I would think. I mean, I would think it would be both Gandalf and Merlin.
Yeah. Gandalf, I know, was part, and she said that also it was a headmaster she had also. So it was like part Gandalf, part, an actual living person, and maybe part Merlin a bit. But Merlin is in the lore of the wizarding world. Like, she worked him in there.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm kind of wondering how much of Merlin, because he's in it.
Yeah. And Dumbledore's gay.
Yeah. Yes, with Grindelwald.
That's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, happy Pride Month. Talking about Gandalf here. My favorite gay wizard.
Well, Gandalf was non-sexual because he was an angel incarnated as a old man.
Or Dumbledore. Did I say Gandalf? Yeah, my bad.
So if there's ever any debate between Potterheads and Lord of the Rings fans about, like, okay, who's better, Gandalf or Dumbledore? Gandalf is a freaking angel. Okay?
Yeah, Gandalf is like not human. Dumbledore is human.
Correct.
Very powerful wizard, but he's human. So yeah, there's really no competition at all. Gandalf all the way, just because he's, like I said, he's like an angel. He's like a spirit. He's inhuman. His power is probably immeasurable compared to like Dumbledore.
And he is technically the Maiar spirits. Well, that means that the wizards are essentially the same species as Sauron.
Ew, yeah.
Sauron is
powerful
the most
spirits.
Except Sauron is the most powerful of the Maiar. And like the coolest thing from I believe it was the Lost Tales, they talk about how, like, when the wizards were chosen, Gandalf, his original name was Olorin. And when he was chosen, he was the only one that didn't want to go. And I think the King of the Valar asks him why. And he basically admits to him, he's like, I'm afraid of Sauron. Like, he scares me to death. I don't think I'd be good for this mission. And he basically tells him, like, it's because you're scared of him that you should go.
Well,
like,
he did assist in taking him down in the end.
True. But it's the fact that he had enough wisdom and respect for the power that it's like he wasn't gonna go charging in overconfident.
Right.
Which Saruman did. Saruman thought, oh, I can find this ring and all that, and I can defeat him on my own terms, and he ended up corrupting himself.
Yeah. Pretty bad, too.
Oh, I love this stuff.
Yeah. I just wish I knew more to be able to talk more about, like I haven't really read the books, but I do love it. I love the lore. I love the story, all the stories and such. The characters are just fascinating, phenomenal. And Tolkien, wasn't he like a linguist? Like the Elvish language is a real language now. He made a full language.
Yep. And in fact, he wrote the stories just to give his languages like a setting. Like that was his entire reason. Like he did the languages first, and he was just like, I gotta come up with some stories to give this some context.
Yeah, and boy, did he come up with some stories.
Hell yes. But yeah, you know, Aragorn is the reason, is the proof that we need that America is ready for a king.
But only if it's Aragorn.
You and I could do it.
We just, like, identify as Aragorn instead of Arathorn.
Well, it's that we are chosen by birth to be noble and wise rulers. And see, and that's another thing. It shows our humility because there's two of us. It's not just one king. It's like there's two kings ruling over half of the United States each, until our descendants inevitably go to war with each other.
We'll just make it like a Arnor and a Gondor thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that'll work out.
Yeah. Well,
you know what happens? You know what happens when you have a democracy? That's when you get Lake Town. Okay?
Lake Town.
Yes, which looked abysmal in the Hobbit movies.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, democracy is also like mob rule too. That's why we are a republic.
Yes. But Julius Caesar is eventually gonna unite everybody.
Yeah.
I keep scaring you with that talk.
What?
I look at your face when I say that, like, and you just have this look of like, oh God.
What?
No.
Like about like?
Just the
monarchs?
Thought, yes, just the thought of a monarch taking power. I can feel your libertarian hackles raised.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. 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 I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, because it's just kind of like we fought a war like over 200 years ago, like
True.
To oust a king, and they try to come back 1812, and like we're like no, still no. And yeah, well, I also had like I had 11 ancestors that fought in the American Revolutionary War, so it's in my blood.
I'm pretty sure none of mine did, because they all came from France later on.
Ah. Oh yeah. Your last name's very French. Well, you're Louisiana too.
Yep.
Oh goodness, you are a true like French Cajun.
Yep.
Wow.
My people were eventually assimilated by Thomas Jefferson from the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah. Wow. Legit French Cajun. That's cool.
And I've tasted alligator.
What's it taste like?
Very bland chicken with a fishy aftertaste.
Yeah.
I know. It wasn't
That does
great.
not sound appealing. To each their own if people like it, but that does not sound appealing to me whatsoever. But I don't like fish. Like I like chicken, but I don't like fish.
No, I can tell you, like, the aftertaste is horrible. It's and like I was having it in like a hush puppy, so it was like fried and everything, and it still had a bad taste at the end.
Ugh. Fried gator.
And you know what the sickest part is? They were selling that at the zoo cafe right across from the live alligators. Which is like that is demonic.
That's like if you get out of line and bite your zookeeper, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to go on the menu.
Yeah, but alligators are evil motherfuckers. They'll eat each other anytime.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit.
Black Hawk War. I don't think I know that one.
I'm assuming that has something to do with the natives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Good lord.
Second cousin, so that's just like not that far down.
Yeah, I would say so. But yes, to Cesare. Hail, glorious Caesar.
I heard that his name's actually supposed to be pronounced Kaiser, though. But or
Yeah.
it depends on which like dialect, but like which one you go from. Like, is there some sort of like Reddit like person who is like fluent in Latin and wanted to report the employees of Little Caesars for not calling it correctly, not saying the name correctly? I read that and I was like, are you serious? You really want to like report these people of this $5 pizza, like, or $8 pizza now, this $8 pizza company, restaurant, or whatever, because they don't say Caesare?
How do
you and your Latin
who
stuff
do you
say
report that to?
I don't know, like corporate, and he was like, I am like fluent in Latin and I really respect the language, and they call it Caesars, and that's not how you say it. It's like, but why? What? Really? Is that a fight you want to take on? Choose your battles, dude.
We won a war against Germany, so we could call it Caesar.
Yeah, but well, Latin. I don't know. Latin birthed a lot of languages. I guess even a lot. I can't think of any language that, well, besides maybe like Asian languages and the Slavic languages, probably did not come from Latin.
Oh, I know that Asian languages definitely didn't.
Yeah, they definitely didn't. But I think the Germanic languages and the Romance languages did come from Latin.
Okay.
I don't think any of the Scandinavian languages did, though.
I mean, I wouldn't know. I should know because I'm friends with somebody from the Czech Republic, but I don't know.
Oh, actually, Swedish. Swedish isn't too far from German to be like almost. And obviously German is Germanic. So I don't know, maybe Swedish. But I don't know. Because when you think about history in Sweden, all the Vikings and such, it's just like, I don't know. That's so confusing. I'll have to look that up later. Because that's fascinating to me as well. Like the history of languages.
Well, our language comes from ancient Elvish, the Kenya, I believe. Before they migrated over to Valinor from the far west of Middle Earth, from the far east of Middle Earth.
Far east of Middle Earth. And then they moved out west, and the language evolved.
They were led by the great Vala Orome, who was essentially the leader of the Wild Hunt. This is all true, by the way.
Really? Oh, so you're spitting out real lore.
Yes, and it's also true in real life.
What?
That the elves were born in the Far East and made their way across the ocean to Valinor. And Valinor was eventually replaced by North America because, God got angry at the people of Numenor.
So, geographically speaking, in the whole lore, what, like, is it supposed to be like our Earth, or is it supposed to be like our Earth but just in a different kind of setting? Because there's Middle Earth. You don't ever hear about anything beyond Middle Earth.
It's supposed to be prehistoric Britain, and the idea is like in the prehistoric times of before modern man and all that, and that across the ocean was Valinor, which were the Undying Lands. But after Numenor was sunk, the world had been flat, and God reshaped the earth into a ball at that point, and then took the Undying Lands off of the globe so that only elves were able to sail there, and then replaced it with new lands, which are basically North and South America.
Oh. So it's supposed to kind of work into modern Earth.
Kind of, yeah. I think like because, I mean, technically, it's like he doesn't mention much outside of Middle Earth, even though it's like there's more land to the south and to the east that you never really hear about, and that's where the Easterlings and the Haradrim are.
Yeah, because you kind of think of it as like like in the movies. I don't think you see really any real ocean. Well, yeah, except maybe whenever the ghosts come off the ship. But I don't remember if that's the ocean or if they're coming down a river.
They're coming down a river.
Oh, it is a river.
Yeah, it's when they're sailing at the very end when Frodo gets on the last ship to leave.
Oh yeah,
that's when they go into the open ocean. But they technically leave planet Earth at that point.
So it's really like a spaceship.
Yeah, in a way. It's just a magic spaceship.
Yeah. Well, if they're elves, what can they not do? Especially because like Elrond was on it, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, Elrond can do anything.
Because the last ship was meant for everybody who was a ring bearer. And Elrond had one of the rings, so did Galadriel, and so did Gandalf. And then Frodo and Bilbo were ring bearers at different points.
Oh, so they still counted as ring bearers, even though they just kind of held it temporarily.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Gandalf had the Elvish Ring of Fire that was given to him by Círdan the Shipwright. And then Galadriel had the Ring of Air, and I believe Elrond had the Ring of Water.
So, as far as ring bearers, because they like, I think there are a bunch of rings were like handed out or whatnot. Are they the only ones that were left and actually got on the ship?
Yeah, because the 3 elven rings were the ones that Sauron didn't have anything to do with, which pissed him off greatly. Because basically, what's his name? Celebrimbor, the ring maker, made the 3 elven rings without Sauron's help. So even though they were technically subjected to the power of the One Ring, they didn't have all the negative effects like that the others did. Yeah, and the 7 dwarven rings were pretty much eaten by dragons. And then...
But the dragons won't count as ring bearers.
Yeah, and I mean, the rings barely had any effect on the dwarves because of how strong they were built. Like, they mostly just increased their greed.
Oh, yeah. They definitely didn't.
And as you probably would know from the movies, the 9 rings given to men made the 9 kings into ring wraiths.
Yep.
And they all got killed.
They were once men.
Yep. You know, that's what happens when you don't have a king.
Yeah.
You become a ring.
And then Aragorn comes back finally.
Yeah. Which is, you know, America's ready for it.
We just need Aragorn. Just who's Aragorn instead of Aragorn? Let's just like find him, pull him out of the books. Be like, you know what? Can you fix this shit? We got stuff going on that we don't like need.
Well, I know Viggo Mortensen is still kicking, so
yeah. Let's just like crown Thomas Massey. Like, Thomas Massey, you are now going to identify as Aragorn, son of Arathorn. You can grow your hair out and give you like a little crown.
You know, true kings are defined by being fiscally responsible.
Yeah. Well, except unless was it King Louis of France, not very fiscally responsible, and Marie Antoinette lost her head over that.
And then she was reincarnated as Michelle Obama.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I got from her throughout the Obama presidency.
Really? Of Marie Antoinette?
Yeah, she was just like, she was living the high life, drinking the fancy champagne, going to the parties and telling everybody to screw off.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. She was put on such a pedestal, and people even wanted her to run for office. It's like she has absolute zero experience. At least Trump had leadership experience being like a businessman. Like, she had zero. Like, what's she gonna do? You're gonna have her run all this stuff?
I mean, they wanted Kamala Harris to run, and she's even dumber.
Kamala Harris is just a word salad. Like, she only got votes because she had a D next to her name and because she wasn't Trump. Yeah, she's not smart. Probably the worst candidate. Like, they're not putting out good candidates for president. They haven't. Like Hillary was at least a good candidate because, she at least was coherent. She can put sentences together. She was well alert. But Kamala seemed like she was drunk half the time.
Yeah, I mean, evil people do know how to rule, albeit they do it horribly, but at least they're not dumb. Where Kamala was very dumb. I got the vibe that if she was elected, she wouldn't really be making any decisions.
Mm-mm.
She would just kind of going out and doing her bumbly speeches while other people did work.
Oh, could you imagine the State of the Union with Kamala and her word salads? That would have just been... You wouldn't be able to pay me to have watched that. That would have just been bad. Everybody would lose IQ points.
Well, I did learn from Kamala Harris that space is exciting.
Is that what she said?
Yes, and it connects us in ways. It forces us to think about our, us as a whole.
They should have put her on Bezos's thing so she can call herself an astronaut too, just like Katy Perry does.
Well, baby, she's a firework.
Yeah, she's come out against Trump. Oh no.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do?
Oh no, he will never recover.
What are we gonna do?
I know, astronauts. They're not pro-Trump.
Now, I think we'll be okay as long as Sabrina Carpenter doesn't come out against him. If she does, that's it. That's the death knell.
What is the thing about her? I keep seeing like someone said that why don't guys find Sabrina Carpenter attractive? And she actually is attractive, but apparently a lot of guys just are weird about it. Like, find her weird.
From my point of view, well, number one, it's because she was on Girl Meets World and she was a child, so that's kind of an odd association. But also, she's kind of a surfboard. She's got nothing going on up there or down there,
Really, just flat all around like Taylor Swift. Well, Taylor Swift actually has some curve. She's got a little bit of thighs there.
I see what you did there. But
okay, let's give me a second. That was a good one.
We're skirting the lines there.
Big Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I always did even before it was popularized. I always thought you remember when early on in Obama's presidency they were putting her on Vanity Fair and all that, and they were saying, "Oh my God, she's the hottest first lady," and I'm like, really? Her?
You really? Is she
like,
really?
I was like looking, I'm like, am I crazy? Like, I'm not seeing it. Like, you know?
Yeah, I don't think anybody really sees it. Like, yeah, she's not attractive at all.
No.
I don't get it.
And I think I saw like on her little podcast, she did like when she was interviewing her brother basically looks like her with short hair. And I was just kind of like,
Brother.
Well, it gave me the vibe. I'm like, maybe she really is a man. Like, you know?
Yeah, and there's like all these rumors about Macron's wife too, Bridget Macron or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That is the kind of woman I could, you could get into a boxing match with, and you'd probably lose.
No, thank you. Like, I don't know. That's the reason they call her Big Mike.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be too mean to Michelle Obama because she's had it rough, being super wealthy and basically living like a big star for 8 years, like
going to nice schools.
She's suffered from so much racism.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, going down, like, traveling the world.
Yeah. Like, what? That is just the worst. How could... This country is just evil.
Poor Michelle Obama. So oppressed.
And I mean, Oprah, think about what Oprah's had to go through. Jesus.
I actually read her biography when I was younger. And when she was younger, she did go through a lot of, like, bad stuff. But now Oprah is so, like, hilariously successful that, like, I'm not saying it negates all her past trauma, because she's got, like, bad trauma. Like, she was, like, assaulted, I think, by her cousin, I want to say, when she was little. Yeah, like, she did not have the best upbringing, but she really made something of herself. That's why I don't get why she, leads how she does in a lot of ways, because she did go through so much in her younger days. And yeah.
Yeah, I get the vibe that, like with the wine scene stuff and all, like she was connected to that in some way.
That's sad. Because she's gone through a lot, like, when she was young.
Yeah. I mean, selling your soul for that.
Yeah. But, there's always, like, benefit of the doubt where she possibly didn't know. But I heard that Weinstein was, like, an open secret.
Yeah, I mean, of all people, I think it was Courtney Love that kind of blew the lid on that.
Was it Courtney Love?
Like, way back in the day. She mentioned she said something during an award show where she's like, don't accept an invite to Harvey Weinstein's house. And people were kind of like, oh, what does that mean?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Jackie O. I haven't seen too much of Jackie O, so I can't comment. Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah, Pocahontas.
Yeah, I mean,
so funny.
Well, it is tough when you're 0.24436% Cherokee.
I think it's even smaller than that.
I mean, as white as I am, I probably have more Native American in me than she does. But,
Yeah, quite possibly. Because you're French Cajun, so yeah. Very possibly.
Yeah, the French were pretty, French were totally down to mix it up, Oh
yeah. Yeah, they would, the reason is for the whole, like, the most romantic language, they say. the French were romancing some of the natives. I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, the women sound hot when they speak French. The men sound ugh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yes, indeed. Well, it is about that time for us to start wrapping it on up. But before we do, I need to share something real quick. Hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so freaking close to hitting the 1,000 mark on Outlaw Nights issue number 2. And if we can hit the $1,000 mark, we are gonna be getting these awesome stickers right here of some of our characters done in chibi form. So everybody who has ordered a copy of the book is going to be getting those mixed in if we can hit the $1,000 marker. And we are like right on the cusp here. So let's get on it. For everybody who has not heard of this, they're like, what the fuck is this Outlaw Nights thing? Why is it on the stream with Libertarian Goth? Outlaw Nights. This is issue number 2 of a 10-issue comic series. Outlaw Nights takes place in the 31st century. Humanity has begun colonizing into outer space. History is very much repeating itself as the nations of Earth are at each other's throats, competing over territory and resources. It's a chaotic time, to be sure. But even though the governments of Earth are very authoritarian now, the farther out into space you go, the less of a grip they have on the outer territories. So there has been a huge boom in revolution, and there has been a huge boom in crime, particularly piracy, which is, it's the name of the game for this series. And in the midst of all this, we've got our main character, Cyrus Lawson, who has settled on a small, out-of-the-way, insignificant little colony called Therese. And he's had a bit of a rough go of it, but, he's joined the colony guard there. But he's not really expecting a lot of trouble, because, hell, who would go to a boony like Therese? LG, have you heard of Therese?
No.
Exactly.
Not outside of this comic.
Exactly, though. Nobody knows about it. It's out in the middle of nowhere. So what is there to get out there? Well, right from the get-go of issue 1, the pirates of the ship Hazard invade his settlement looking for a special piece of data. And this data is going to lead to a treasure everybody and their mothers got their eyes on. Governments, pirates, criminal organizations, bounty hunters, companies, you name it, they want it. So it is the ultimate rat race in the making. And issue 2, the issue we are on here, kicks off with our boy having been kidnapped by these pirates. And so now he's getting a first-hand look at the underworld, and they are being pursued by a notorious pirate hunter who goes by the name of Wellington. So guns are gonna blaze, and Cyrus is gonna have to make a choice, and he's gonna have to challenge his very black and white sense of morality, because not everything's as simple as he thinks it is. Which I think that's a story that we all can relate to. If you missed out on issue 1, don't you worry, because we have got catch-up tiers for awesome prices. You get 2 issues for $25, or if you just want to go digital, $22 without paying shipping. I highly recommend it. And now let me play the trailer for all of you very quickly. Hang on. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you've seen this and you recognize that it is the most awesome comic book ever, click on the link I have got pinned in the live chat and sign on up for it. And you will be quite glad that you did. And thank you once again for joining me, LG. It is always a pleasure to have you. Where can people find you?
On X, I am at Libertarian Goth. It's a 0 for the O in Goth. I am also on YouTube, Rumble, and Instagram. And you can also find my Liberty merch at libertariangoth.com. Or you can also check out the music news website that I run called The Alternative Sovereign at thealternativesovereign.com with a liberty-leaning music journalism website. And on my own streams on my previously mentioned YouTube, Rumble, and X.
Hell yeah. And I am, of course, your host, Ben, aka The Fusebox. You can find me on Twitter at Fusebox7. You can also find me on Instagram at Outlaw Nights. And you can find me on Facebook under my real name, Ben Fuselier, F-U-S-E-L-I-E-R. If you like anything we had to say, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And hell, if you didn't like anything I had to say, if you were deeply offended by my proposition that we should be the monarchs of the United States, go ahead and hit the dislike button, because whether you like us or hate us, it really doesn't matter because it feeds us. I crave your attention, both positive and negative. Thank you so much for joining us once again, ladies and gentlemen, and we will talk to you all later.
Bye.